Hello once again, another Ultimate Contest series. Today we have Mr. Ancient Soris from rank 4 challenging Mr. Wick at rank 2. So this is a rematch. It was already played about 1 week ago, if I'm not mistaken. Get the exact time on that. I am very prepared, obviously. Yeah, just about a week ago. This match already got played, and Mr. Wick ended up winning 4-2. So Sora's giving it another try. He is Sora's reached rank 4 and he's been challenging everyone he can and hasn't really gotten further for a little bit, so I hope he can turn that around. First match we have a Milestone versus Hunter. Sora's obviously a little bit limited in his ship choices, so I think Mr. Wick predicting the Hunter and feels that his Milestone is capable of beating it. So we'll see here. AB's in, breaks the range exploit, gets stunned. Okay, gets the shield off in time. And counter stuns into Soris. Soris gonna AB out. This is pretty much what you expect. Mr. Wick gets an Ifrit up though. I'm expecting him to go for a chase once he gets the AB, because Soris is still stunned for a bit. Which means that once Wick gets his AB, he can easily get into range and then stun dome Soris when he tries to run out if he's fast enough. Soris's buffs are gonna run out as well. It's probably what Wick is waiting for a little bit. He needs to do it before the AB comes up for Soris. Yeah, there he goes. So you'll see the buff start to time out. The actuator just times out, and there's the buff as well. And Wick now with an Ifrit. Soris needs to get an AB out, but Wick has the stun dome. So this is gonna come down to timing it between the blasters pretty much. And he gets it. Okay. Now, Mr. Wick should still be winning this because he gets the AB up, and then it should be game. They should both have the stun. I think Mr. Wick is winning so far. We'll see. Soros, of course, will get the buffs back at some point. It's not too far off anymore, but without the RD, you can't really fight. Expecting Wick to go for... I need to put my speedrunner. Expecting Wick to go for an AB once he gets it. Looks like Wick wants to play a little bit more careful. Actually backs up, yeah. Interesting. I personally feel that the Milestone should be a very aggressive playstyle into the Hunter. You just can't fight into the... You can't really fight into buff actuator unless if you have like all of your shit and the Hunter doesn't have an RD or something. But I feel like you can't give the Hunter too much space, because yeah, you just keep getting into range exploits. So now that's an AB wasted, and we're pretty much replaying the start of the fight. Mr. Wick this time with an RD first though. So he's gonna try, I think, to... Needs to be careful, because that RD doesn't always cover the entire thing, and yeah, Soros just ABs out. Once again wastes his buff though. Well, not fully waste, but trading an RD for both of the buffs on the Milestone is a pretty good trade, generally speaking. You're happy with that. He did use the actuator, which is not ideal for Wick. It was good for DPS, of course, and he gets the RD back faster, but ideally you'd want more than just the RD to benefit from the actuator. We'll see. I don't think he gets in range now, yeah. Soris has an AB as well. Soris has a really defensive playstyle, which is... we've already seen that in previous rounds as well, but it's a bit, yeah, questionable. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But yeah, Milestone normally has a lot of control, but against the Hunter it's just so difficult, because he also has stun actuator and it's a faster ship, so it's a question between slightly more speed or having a stun dome, which is a fairly poor controllability stun dome. Most players will probably agree with me when I say that stun dome needs a buff for 1v1 purposes. It's valid enough when it comes to squad PvP and CQs. Even there it's not very strong. But yeah, the dome not that amazing, and that's all the Marlstone really has in terms of control over the Hunter. And then it's a lot tankier. It has more armor, it has the shield. AB into range. Wick is gonna need to stun. Yeah, uses the dome on it, and Soris just uses the actual stun charge. And Wick now just also, because he gets stunned, he also commits his own stun to the enemy. So Soris double stunned. Soris should have buffed though, so this isn't by any means favorable for Wick necessarily, but it looks like he's gonna have to try to fight into this. Shield, yeah, he's gonna go for his Ifrit again. Not entirely sure about going with this, because if you go RD first, you can... It's a lot easier to survive to a second RD. I think he's gonna get bursted down, yeah. Ifrit too strong. So that's a 1-0 for Soris. Ifrit on a Hunter, you don't expect it, but that's an insane amount of damage. You can't rely on your RD to defend against that. That's why I like putting the RD first, generally. Because then, if you notice your HP dropping too much, and you can put the RD at like 50% or 60% even, doesn't matter. If your HP then gets too low, you just pop the shield, and that's like a hard defense. But yeah, Marlstone doesn't normally win a direct fight against a Hunter. You want to control the fight a little bit more, and Sora's kind of just running until Mr. Wick gave up on trying to control the fight. Like, he got into a position where he was in range. You don't really want to break the range, because then you're wasting an afterburner and the Hunter can get away again. So, a little bit difficult. So 1-0 for Soris, well played. Definitely the correct strategy apparently against Mr. Wick to employ that defensive style. And Mr. Wick picks Mizar for his second system. I'm just gonna verify that the recording is still running. Yes, it is. So Mizar, let's see what people decide on. We have a CC for Soris. It's kind of what we expect. CC not very strong, and Mr. Wick goes with a Punari against it. Not entirely sure how this matchup is supposed to go. I'd expect the Punari to kind of just walk in and kill him, but we'll see. CC is a very defensive ship. It has a ton of armor, and the actuator for the RD and the protector, very powerful, and Punari does lack damage output. And it also doesn't really like playing into actuator ships that much. I mean, it depends on the ship, but actuator is a pretty good item because it means you don't get out-CD'd as much. Like, you'll be getting stunned by the Punari, but you'll also have an actuator to get your cooldowns back faster. And that's the main offensive value of the Punari, is having that that cooldown warfare. That's kind of your offensive power on the Punari. So Wick starting off with Prot plus Scram. Soris drops the trap very early on. Kinda interesting. Yeah, this is a blaster skin. He doesn't actually have the rare blaster equipped, don't worry. Looks like it, but... Yeah, and here you see just the OS spam that can come out. It's ludicrous how low the cooldown is. In Mizar, it doesn't do that much damage. Punari has reasonable armor as well, so it's not that easy to one-shot it, but yeah, Soris just running around the trap a bit. He still has the RD as well, yeah, and a pop it. I think that's quite early against the Punari. Should have held off on it a bit. He's gonna be slightly over-healing here, I think. Yeah, so that's 4 or 5 ticks of healing that got wasted, technically. Not sure if it's gonna make a big difference, but Mr. Wick's just shooting the trap out. He doesn't want to deal with it. I'm not sure about giving the CC this much space, though. As I said, I think Punari has an issue with actually killing the CC, so... But trap's out of the equation now for a bit, and yeah, AB. Mr. Wick should be able to stay in range. He AB'd a little bit later, so yeah, stays in range. Soris was stunned there as well. Throws the stun dome. Soris doesn't quite have the protector yet. I'm not sure if he's gonna get it in time or not. I have to see. Mr. Wick needs to RD, misses a blaster as well, misses another blaster, misses a third blaster. Soris really has a built-in aim scrambler. This is ridiculous. Every fight he's in, opponents just miss blasters. Time after time. So now we get to the Protector, Actuator running again. That means the RD should also come up in time. The issue is, the CC doesn't really kill the Punari. Like ever. I don't think. It doesn't have the DPS to do it in Mizar. Higher systems you have a better chance because you can like OS crit them down. But I think we're looking at the end of Soris here. Gets stunned again, and now he doesn't have anything. Mr. Wick doesn't have that much defense himself. That's why he's trying to... Yeah, he's doing the little trick where he's like in and out of range to try to prevent Soris from blastering him. And one more blaster finish. Ooh! Soris drops the OS at the end, and that's enough. Wow. That means the match is a draw. We don't look at who dies first, so... That is a draw. Well played by Soris. I think Mr. Wick... I mean, he knows he can end it there, and unless if the OS crit is really good, he's gonna win there and survive with like 5 or 10% health. But really good OS crit and just barely... He doesn't really want to go out of range there, because then it's difficult for him to get back in. The ships are roughly the same speed, so if he lets him out of range there, he might lose his chance at victory. So basically deciding that, deciding that staying in range and risking the OS crit is a smaller risk than the issue of letting his opponent get out of range. Because all it takes is one trap, and the fight can be completely reset by the CC, and then all of the hard work that Geta did, that Mr. Wick did, is undone. So yeah, he repicks Mizar, repicks the same ship as well. So, feeling confident in his Punari ability to take down the CC, and I think that's justified. He was winning that match. It's pretty bad RNG. Seeing a bit of a trend with people getting bad RNG against Soris. But let's see. I think Mr. Wick gonna play it slightly more careful and should be able to take this win home. But he is behind 1-0, so at best he's tying up the series, and if he messes it up now, which is definitely still possible against OS, if he messes it up, then you're just tying up the series. Mr. Wick also quite interesting, choosing not to use the Ifrit. Ooh, Soris, my man. Immediately traps. I don't think that's a good idea at all. Like, you don't win the cooldown battle. Trap is a defensive item in this. Yeah, and he doesn't use it to get away either. Like, he just goes back in. So that trap it's doing nothing. He's now gonna dance around a little bit. Try to maybe get some extra hits in and make it a bit more difficult for Mr. Wick to actually engage. Yeah, stun on the RD, so now Soris can't really... Ooh, he still prots it. Wow, that's a lot of RD wasted. I'm not sure about that move. Look at how long this RD is running while he's at full health. That's rough. Well, I mean, Mr. Wick also kind of out of defense, that's why he's going out of range now for a little bit. But yeah, interesting by Soris. This time, because he did the RD first though, he will have more defense. He will have defense back more quickly. The RD is a way lower cooldown than the Protector. And because he actuated his Protector, I'm not even sure if Mr. Wick's stun still comes up before the Protector comes up. I'm not entirely sure about the math on that one. It's also an ancient speed actuator. He probably can get a stun before the Protector comes up then. But Mr. Wick just, yeah, he's gotta deal with the trap now. I think it's 40%. He can't. Okay, Soris chases him away from the trap. Mr. Wick again with the prod first, and Choosing not to leverage his Ifrit. Probably a bit of fair play there, because Soris doesn't have an Ifrit on this ship. He does have it on many of his ships, but not this one. And Soris choosing to go for the Protector first this time, so not entirely sure about this, because now when the Protector gets shot out, Mr. Wick can just stun the hell out of him. Yeah, this time not a good OS hit. Mr. Wick also puts the RD up, Soris puts the RD up, but now I think Wick just throws stuns at him, right? And he dies. Yeah, there's the first stun. You can AB out, but yeah, the ships are equally fast. Soris will still be stunned at the end of it as well. Ooh, gets the trap back up, yeah. And this should be enough to get a full reset. Soris should be able to walk far enough out of range where Wick can't catch him anymore, so... Yeah, Magnet Trap has a lower cooldown than people give it credit for. When I play against CC, I haven't practiced that much against CC, must admit, but I trained a bit with Skylork, and yeah, that trap comes up like really quickly. And this isn't even a rapid trap, mind you. This is the rare trap from Izar, but yeah, it's about 2.5 cycles. Like, well, I have the stopwatch in this case, so it was less than 2 minutes, closer to 1.5 minutes, which is, yeah, like right about halfway through your second RD cooldown, so that's what we call a cycle. Looks like Soris, ooh, RD just in time. Mr. Wick RD, I'm not sure where the OS is in the cooldown. Soris probably just used it for pressure, otherwise Wick would have died there. But yeah, Soris with the RD first, should then go for a Protector in a second, there it is. And just OSing like off cooldown to try and whittle down Wick's defensive options. Wick chasing still. Soris probably gonna try to run to his magnet. Not sure if he can reach it, because he is gonna get stunned most likely as soon as the Protector goes down. Yeah. And once again, Soris doesn't have defense, and this time he doesn't have the trap either, so this should be it. Soris doesn't have much to wiggle out of this anymore. And that is a 1-1 for Mr. Wick, so playing a little bit more careful and securing his victory. Tying up the series 1-1, best of 7 turned into a best of 5, and Ancient Soris selects Sol for his next system. So we'll see. I'm expecting Ancient Soris to bring out his Emperor. That's what I've seen him do so far in Sol system. I'm not sure what other options he has. Obviously it's... Oh, that's interesting. Well, he has, like, what is popping up here, a VQ for Sol. I'm not entirely sure if this is what he built for the CQ yesterday, or if this is what he's like bringing out. The fact that it's popping up here, I'm pretty sure that that pop-up shows the last ship you bought. Yeah, seems to add up. The Raven is the last ship that I purchased as well. The rest was configurations, so that might be what he's trying to, like, throwing a curveball. I'm not convinced, because he also has an Emperor, and for 1v1 purposes the Emperor is kinda just better than the VQ in almost every way. Opinions differ on that maybe, but yeah, I can't think of any matchup where you'd really rather have a VQ than an Emperor, to be honest. Is there anything? I think the best argument you can make is against an Emperor. You'd rather have a VQ than another Emperor, but yeah, I can't think of that much else. So yeah, Sora's going with the Emperor. Most likely the VQ was his CQ ship for yesterday, or for today, for that matter. We have Sol CQ 2 days in a row, but that's not very relevant for the people at home watching this later. So we have an Emperor versus Hunter. I'm expecting Wick to just win this. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Wick has shown in the past that he knows how to play MV Hunt. Just be decisive, get in there, pressure buffs, you'll win. But let's see, let's see. Soris should definitely be trying to draw out this match a bit, as much as he can. And yeah, we see Mr. Wick just ABing in. I think he pressed his AB a little bit too soon. Yeah, doesn't get in range. And he also takes a free hit. Hunter armor not that high, you'll see. Like, he can take 4 snipers and then he's just out. Okay, slightly worse hit on that one. But I don't think Mr. Wick can allow this range exploiting. His ship is slightly faster, but he's already almost dead by the time we get into range. Needs to... Yeah, throws out the stun first, so he's trying to... Okay, there's the prod, and he gets just barely to range, which is exactly what he needs to do. And Mr. Wick is gonna go for a reset, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that play. He needs to get his items back. He took the start of the engagement too poorly. He can't afford to be so far down on health when it comes to the engage. So, just gonna go for a reset. Which, fair enough to him. And we'll see what these players decide on. Most likely we're gonna meet back at LZ. I think Soris should have been chasing this a little bit more. He also ran away, you can see on the minimap, ran all the way to the top. Soris is ahead if it were to come to a fight now. Mr. Wick doesn't like being range exploited in the Hunter. The Emperor wins that every day of the week. So I feel like the Emperor kind of wants to keep pressure as much as he can without getting into like a decisive engagement. Mr. Wick just puts the second RD up. Trying to farm some rares in the meantime, it seems. Is Mr. Wick. But he used his RD, so rendering is always interesting. I can see on the minimap where Soris is, but Mr. Wick doesn't have that luxury. And if he were to accidentally run into Ancient Soris at the moment, then he has a big issue because he doesn't have the RD. So he'd need to reset out of the fight then. But yeah, as I said, Ancient Soris also playing it quite defensively. We are approaching the point where he needs to start moving back in. His thermo should just about be coming off cooldown. Doesn't seem to be moving yet. Okay, there he is. Now he's moving the opposite way. So yeah, waiting all the way for his thermo to come back, and most likely gonna try to go for the range exploit. I think what Wick does is just AB right as you get started. Oh, gets stuck on the wall. That's very painful. Now he's not gonna get in range, most likely. No. Nope. Nope. Yeah, that's unfortunate. And once again, Mr. Wick has wasted his buff. Going for a little bit of his beak poking does also put the actuators. So Mr. Wick still thinking he can win this engagement, and his damage is quite powerful. Ooh, Soris with a prod first. I think that's a mistake. Mr. Wick presses the stun into it, so kind of just preloading it, because he's gonna kill the Protector in a second anyway. Yeah, kills the Protector, and now Ancient Soris is... Oh wait, that was the Custodian stun. My mistake. Yeah, so Mr. Wick stuns him, and now Soris isn't doing damage. And I think Mr. Wick just wins. Yeah. RD runs out, Mr. Wick has plenty of HP, Soris still stunned, and GG's. You can't really afford to put the prots before the stun is used. You gotta prot against that stun, otherwise you just get out DPS'd essentially. You don't do anything while you're stunned, obviously. So that's a 2-1 for Mr. Wick, taking a lead in the series, and Ancient Soris picking Sirius to try and bring things back around. He did win the first match in Sirius, beating the milestone of Mr. Wick with his Hunter. We'll see if he can repeat that performance, or if Mr. Wick maybe goes for a different ship. That's also a possibility. I'm expecting Soris to stick with his Hunter though. As said before, I'm not sure if Soris even has other options in Siri. He has a few like unfinished ships, but you can see configurations obviously. All we know at the moment is that he has a Hunter, he has a Punisher, without armor, thermograde armor, and he has a mist that has a long RD and a Keynight Scrambler. So yeah, going for the Hunter again. Really looks like he doesn't have other options available, might need to purchase ones. Ooh, Mr. Wick picking an Emperor, that's very interesting. I wouldn't personally choose to pick an Emperor into a Hunter. Probably trying to make it a little bit fair. Mr. Wick does have the ship variety to be able to hard counter pick Soris, but these guys are from the same clan, both Justice Fighters members. So I think they're just trying to make it fair and fun games for the fans. You know, it's a bit of sportsmanship from both players, mostly from Mr. Wick, to not flex his ship variety. And earlier as well we saw with the choosing not to use the Ifrit in the Punari versus CC matchup. But we'll see. We'll see if Mr. Wick can beat the Hunter. Gets a first SB, which is good, I guess. Soris gets a crit on his first hit, though. It's very impressive. And Soris puts the buff. Mr. Wick ABs away. He should be in range at the end of the AB, at least in Blaster, at least in SB range, probably not Blaster range yet. Mr. Wick turns into it, actually thinking Soris dropped too low. Stun. Mr. Wick probably could just put the Protector. He's not going to overheal that much at this point. Yeah, I think he's loading the Protector. There it is. Okay, so he's nullifying a part of the stun, and he forced a really early RD out of Soris. It's still going to be close though, because the buffs are very good. Mr. Wick. Okay, Soris deciding not to take it. I think this is suicidal, because now it comes down to 1 SB. Mr. Wick should get in range, I think. Gets the AB right now, same time as me. Goes for it, and I think 1 SB does it. I do think he gets in range for it. Yep. There we go. I don't think Soris should have ran there. I think he has better chances of winning just the Blaster fight. He didn't have great chances because of the item order, but I don't think running was the way to go there, because that's a more guaranteed loss than to stay in Blaster range. I think it would have been really close if he stayed in Blaster range. Wick had a little bit more HP still, but you're fighting into buff Actuator. And that's a huge difference, so it's kind of hard to tell how much HP makes for that difference, essentially, of the buff Actuator. But Mr. Wick doing a good job with his item order, protting at the right time, using his RD at the right time, so yeah, up to a quick 3-1. Definitely giving a masterclass in always impressive when you play a matchup, you win, and then you switch the ships, you reverse the ships, and you still win. That's always impressive. Definitely showing off that it's the player achieving the victory and not the ship. In this case, is Mr. Wick. An Ancient Soris choosing Soul. Mr. Wick now only needs one more match, one more round to win. So Soris throwing in on Soul and hoping that is going to be his salvation to try and start a comeback. At least take a few more rounds off of Mr. Wick would be ideal. It's still possible, you know, we've seen crazier things happen in a best of 7 series, but Soris needs 3 wins in a row now, Mr. Wick only needing 1, so we're gonna see, we're gonna find out. Mr. Wick chooses a sniper, wow. So he's really banking that his enemy is going with the Emperor again. That Soris going with the Emperor again, which I expect that as well. I don't think he has many other great options, but we'll see. Emperor versus Sniper, assuming that that's what we get, is an interesting matchup. It was played a lot many years ago before I left the game. The Disruptor was kind of became a trend in PvP, using Disruptor as a PvP ship. And the Soul Sniper, the Soul Rare Sniper, is better than a Disruptor. It's 5% more armor. Soris brings out a VQ. Okay. Very interesting. So, basically both against the Emperor and the VQ. The Sniper is a valid option, because you have overwhelming DPS going up against slightly more defense, like one more defensive item, be it the Prot or the Scrambler. Can change RD if he wants to. Yeah, strong RD on Soris, definitely a CQ option. So Soris may have not noticed that, and Mr. Wick giving the Mr. Wick giving the okay there to change that out, because strong RD, very rarely do you want to use that in a 1v1 situation. So yeah, VQ versus Sniper, I think it's an interesting matchup. A lot of people favor the VQ. I personally don't. I have to say, I think the Sniper has an advantage. When I've played it a while ago with, who was it, with Jax, I think. Jax not in the contest obviously, but most people should know who Jax is if you're in the ASCOM PvP community. When I played it with Jax, I won, I think, 2/3 of the matches. But basically it's all about the OS, right? Like, if you can either stay out of OS range, just range exploit, to infinity and beyond, then you're good. Or if you can pull off an OS dodge, then the VQ becomes really good, because the Scrambler mitigates so much of the damage with a bit of RNG. But ooh, Soris already clicks his Scrambler. It's might be a misclick. I don't think he wanted to put it that early. Scrambler for the SB fight is decent, but I think Wick just, yeah, waits for the Scrambler to run out and then he's gonna engage. Wick already puts his buff up. It is a strong Scrambler as well. Soris doesn't wanna... Okay, Soris AB's out. Mr. Wick needs to RD to not get bombed. Soris didn't yet. Okay, now he does, so we're probably gonna see a full reset here. Yeah, so Soris doesn't have defense at the moment. He's gonna be waiting for his items, and Mr. Wick is gonna be waiting for his repair droid as well. Mr. Wick would win if he can somehow get in range at the moment, but I don't think he can. VQ and Sniper have roughly the same speed. The rare Sniper, I believe, is very slightly faster. They get into SB range. If it gets into OS range, Soris is just dead. So he needs to be very careful here. OS? Yeah, the AB comes up just barely in time, and now missing an OS is a very big deal. Not sure about going in without defense though on Soris. Still the droid and some other stuff. Soris puts the Scrambler, but not in range still. Mr. Wick lands the SB through the Scrambler, and now Soris can't really risk going in now, because he's in the range where one SB can kill him. Mr. Wick has at least one SB that he can survive. Both RDs should be coming up soon. There is Soris' RD, which means that Mr. Wick has it as well. They both use the RDs. Going for some SB bugs during the RD is not the biggest deal. You kind of want to wait until the RD is about to end and then put it. That's what Mr. Wick does here. Soris not timing it quite right, so Mr. Wick heals up one more SB worth of damage, thus putting him one SB ahead in the range exploit race. The VQ does, I believe, have slightly better armor than the Sniper, so yeah, Mr. Wick gonna put his buff up to compensate for that and to make sure that he's winning the trade. And Soris may be in trouble. One more SB should do it. 17%. A good SB hit does it here for Wick. And yeah, he gets it. So that's a 4-1 victory for Mr. Wick. Even more convincing than his last victory against Soris. So defending his rank 2 is Mr. Wick. Still showing off decent sportsmanship. Not picking very overpowered ships, so credit to Wick where it's due. Not picking the overpowered ships and allowing the RD change, stuff like that. Just always nice to see some friendliness between the competitors. But yeah, still takes home the victory, and some good plays by both players. I hope you all enjoyed this match. nothing will change in the ranking. Mr. Wick was the defender, so holding his rank 2, Soris will stay put at rank 4. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I will catch you on the next one.